8 days before you move is probably the worst time to be planning a very short turnaround reading vlog of a 500-page book. But I know if I don't read this book now, it's going to be like 2 years before I get to it and all the hype will be died down. And I want to be part of the hype for once. So we're going full steam ahead. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope it's not too echoey. It probably won't be, it's probably fine, but all of the soft furnishings have been removed from my living room because, as I said, we're about to move. We have far more important things to get to, and those things are Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is his latest novel. It is the morning of May 4th when I'm filming this, and it has just come out. I've just downloaded my pre-order on my Kindle, and I'm so excited to get reading. Andy Weir is, of course, the author of The Martian, which was hugely popular as a book and hugely popular as a movie. That one is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. He also wrote Artemis, which was not so good. I didn't hate it, but I also read it while exhausted and on a plane and not really thinking about it. So I probably wouldn't have loved it if I had actually paid attention to it. But he now has a new book out. It's called Project Hail Mary, and fingers crossed, it's going to be a return to the quality of The Martian. Hopefully this angle will be better and less jittery. So Project Hail Mary is about a man who wakes up on a rocket, I think, and he doesn't know who he is, where he is, or why he's there. That sounds interesting. Already the setup sounds more like The Martian, which I don't want to put Andy Weir into a box and say that maybe he can only write this kind of story, but this premise sounds like the premise of The Martian, which worked a lot better in his writing, I think, than Artemis, so maybe it'll be more successful. Either way, I'm going to dive right in and keep you posted as I read. Reading this book before work might be a bit of a challenge because I don't want to stop reading. It's like the only way I'm going to get through it because I've got so much to do this week. But wow, I'm 3 chapters in, and it is so intense and it's so interesting and I'm so excited. I think I might do a non-spoiler first half to this vlog and then spoilery second half. So if you've read the book, you can watch the spoilery section. So non-spoiler thoughts. I love how the character is figuring things out about himself and his situation based on his the knowledge you don't lose type thing. So he doesn't have any memory of who he is, but he knows things like language, and he goes, oh wait, I'm thinking about distance in feet. I can deduce where I'm from because of that. Using his various knowledge to figure things out about his situation. That was so cool. And now that he's figured out what the problem is and why he's on this spaceship, I think it's going to get even more fun from here on out. Although I will say I think it is a good thing that the whole amnesia thing didn't drag on for half the book. That might have gotten old. 2.5 chapters was just about perfect. I'm supposed to go for a walk on my lunch breaks. I usually listen to an audiobook, get out for a walk. If you've been around here for a while, you'll know that I'm prone to staying in my apartment for a week at a time. But I just had to make an exception and read another couple chapters over lunch. I've now read 5 chapters and I'm even more invested. It was even harder to put down this time than last time. This book is getting so good. I am so curious. It's told in sort of present day and flashbacks. So we've got the present day of Ryland on the ship. He's on this spaceship very far into space, and he's figuring out what's going on here. He's recovering from his amnesia. He's figuring out what's going on around him. And as he's recovering, he's of course remembering his past. And so we're getting those intervals as well, where he's remembering things, and it started very small and now we're getting bigger things, and that's sort of telling a story. So we've got the 2 storylines, the one that is happening in the past and we know is going to bring him to where he is now, but we don't know how yet. It's not implied, you can sort of guess how he's getting there by this point, but it's not clear yet. And then the storyline of the present is oh, how's this going to end? If you read The Martian, you'll know that there was a bit of a resource constraint on that one. And definitely got that concern here as well. We've got a time limit. I think it's even tighter this time, so that makes it all the more tense. And oh, this book is good. Okay, it's Tuesday morning now, and I am so glad that I was sensible last night and I didn't try and read any more of this book before bed. I said, no, I'm gonna read a chill before bed book, and then in the morning I'm gonna have another nice good reading session before work, and that was 100% the right choice. I'm pretty sure I would have stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning to finish this book had I sat down to read it last night, because It is only the fact that I have to get logged onto my work computer and start my day that has me putting this down now. It is so gripping. I'm probably sounding like a broken record now, but it's true. I've read another 6 chapters, so I'm up to chapter 11 now. Something that I think was common to The Martian and is common to this one, and that just works so well, is the emphasis on problem solving and having a protagonist who is super qualified. They're really smart, they know a lot of stuff, but they're in over their head. They're in a situation that's more complicated than what they expect. They don't have all the tools they need to like do everything super easily, right? So there's a big element of figuring out, wait, how can I make this work? How can I take the tools that I have and combine them into something that's going to keep me moving forward? And I don't know why, but I just find that fascinating. It makes for such an engaging read. Also, of course, like the pacing and the narration and everything makes it super gripping as well. But I don't know, there's something about this one super capable person, but not everything comes super easily. Like, he has to figure things out. He has to work and think, and not everything goes right. It's just so good. I've read 17 chapters. I couldn't check in first thing this morning because literally from the time I woke up until like when I had to start work, I was reading. But I've got some code running now, so I've got a couple minutes where I can't really mess with my computer because it's using a lot of my RAM. This doesn't matter. This is not why you're here. You're here to know if I'm still liking Project Hail Mary. And I am. I am adoring it. I feel like I'm really comparing it to The Martian a lot, which maybe isn't fair, but since that's his other big book, that's the one that made me like his writing, I think it does sort of make sense. And what I'll say is I was expecting this to be a lot like The Martian. I was figuring it was going to be a very similar storyline, just in a different setting with maybe a different character. And yes, the character is quite different. His personality feels different. Maybe some of his thinking is a bit similar to what the guy in The Martian thought like, but on the whole, this does feel like a different character. And the setting is very different too, the problem's very different, but the way the story is progressing is also different, which that's the part that for me was a bit of a surprise. I was a little bit, not worried, because another Martian would have been good. That book was great. But I was a little bit worried that, okay, it's going to be basically the same story structure. And it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be quite different. And there's elements that I never would have guessed were introduced. I suspect I know how it's going to end, but it could go very differently. So I'm not sure at all. I had another thought and now I've lost it. Oh, yeah, I'm at the point in the story right now where everything seems to be going a bit too well. So I'm just over halfway through. And it's like, oh, I see a positive resolution. I feel like this could go smoothly. But so clearly it's not. Like, something is going to happen. And I'm both so excited and so stressed to, like, find out what that something's going to be. What's going to be the 2/3 of the way through major stick in the wheel problem. Oh man, this was unexpected. What disaster is going to strike? Things have been going too well. Something has to happen, and I just want to keep reading. This vlog will be so short if I edit out all of the times I go, I just want to keep reading this, but like, seriously. If you are in a slump, if you need something that will just grip you in, carry you along, make you want to keep reading, check this book out, because seriously, it is so hard to put down, and every time I pick it up, I'm instantly pulled back in. I never feel like, oh, it's such an effort to get into this. It's just super easy to read. It's Saturday now. Unfortunately, Friday was just too busy to get any reading done. Looking on the bright side, I woke up absurdly early this morning, so I got a fair bit of reading in before I got up. And I've lost track of what chapter I'm on. I want to say I'm around chapter 23 or 24, but honestly, like, I don't even notice the chapter transitions in this. I'm reading, and I've got like 2 minutes left in the chapter, and then I've got 15 minutes left. I'm like, whoa, wait, I just so engrossed in the story. I know I'm a broken record. Something I've noticed in the sort of, 6-7 chapters I read this morning is that I'm starting to feel like Andy Weir hasn't quite mastered background characters or supporting characters. I quite like his main characters. I feel like they're fairly well developed, they're fairly well fleshed out. I feel like I understand them as characters. They make sense to me, they feel solid. The secondary characters, the ones who get a fair bit of page time, they seem pretty well developed. They work for me. For example, I'm not going to mention specific traits, but Eva Stratt, the woman who's organizing the Project Hail Mary mission, everything, she's not a super likable character, but she makes sense as a person. Like, I read the sections where we're talking to her and we're getting her perspective and we're seeing the decisions she makes, and I go, even if that's not necessarily someone I would want to be friends with or someone I like, I buy her as a person. she feels like a possible person that could exist, which, I mean, that's not the only thing that matters in character, obviously, but then when we get to the third level characters, I feel like it starts to fall apart a bit for Weir. I feel like he's trying to put so many big personalities or distinct personalities into these characters that it comes off feeling a bit one note. So there's some interesting characters. I mean, this book, a lot of the tertiary characters are like random scientists and stuff. So yeah, scientists can be a bit weird. I can say that. I grew up around scientists. They can be a bit weird. I think a lot of them would admit that too. So can social scientists. I'm not claiming economists aren't weird. We're notoriously weird as well. Anyway, where's it going? Okay, so like, I get it. The hyper brilliant, super expert in their field, top of their game scientists, yeah, they're often a bit weird, sure. But because we don't spend that much time with these characters, they just don't feel like personalities. They feel like a character trait, and that's all. Which, I mean, isn't a big deal. I'm still enjoying the book. I think it's funny. I think there's just a few in this one that a bit too strong, where if we had more time with this character, if we got to know them more, if we saw them in different situations and stuff, it could probably work. But when you only see them from someone else's perspective in like one or two scenes, it just, you don't have enough time necessarily for everyone to be a huge personality. Oh my goodness, I've been ranting for like 4 minutes now. What have I even said? I don't know. The other thing I want to say in my non-spoilery section at this point is that I'm liking how the catastrophes are going so far. I think I mentioned in my last update that I was at that point of like, everything's going too well, what's gonna happen here? And shit happened. Of course it did. We knew it was going to. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that I like that it's not strictly human error or strictly circumstance. We have one catastrophe that's sort of circumstance. You maybe could have expected this, but you couldn't have done anything differently. So it's not that you screwed up. It's that sometimes things just don't work. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes things break. Sometimes best laid plans don't succeed. But we don't just have that. I like that we're also seeing Ryland as a flawed person who makes mistakes. He's not perfect. He knows and can own up to the fact that like, oh man, I majorly screwed this up. I was an idiot here. Why didn't I think of that? And I think having that mix makes it a lot more believable. Or not believable. He's on a spaceship in another solar system. Like, it's fiction, obviously, but when you have a character where they do everything perfectly and the only problems arise because random chance in the universe, that just doesn't feel as satisfying to me. But at the same time, if you have a character where everything goes perfectly, but they just constantly fuck up, and you're just like, after a certain point, you're like, why am I rooting for this person who doesn't seem to learn, who doesn't seem to improve? So I really like that we've got that balance. I've got some stuff to get done this morning before I keep reading, but I will definitely finish this today, and well, I've got to, because you're watching this on Sunday the 9th, hopefully, or at least it's going live on Sunday the 9th, so I've got to edit this because it's Saturday the 8th. I just finished it, and I am having emotions. I am having so many emotions. This book was so good. I really like where we're left off. I'm obviously not gonna say what the ending is or what happens, but I think the way he left things is appropriate for this type of story. There's nothing he could have done with sort of an alternate ending that could have wrapped things up as well as this, because some of the questions he raises and some of the points he sort of makes in this book are way too big to be wrapped up in this type of novel, in a essentially space adventure with science novel. So I'm glad he ended it how it did. Also, it was just so emotional. I love it. I think I've talked about this book so much already in this review, so I'm not going to say much to end my review now. I think I've talked about all of the elements I want to. If not, I'm gonna link some other reviews down below that I've enjoyed watching, in case you're wondering if you should pick it out and want like an actual review, not just me saying how much I like it. This video was getting too long. I had too much to say about this book. So I do want to still include my spoiler thoughts, but they're going to be in a separate video. So if you want to know spoilery thoughts about this book, make sure you keep your eyes peeled for a video on Tuesday. I know I haven't been doing those lately, but this was sort of unexpected. So there'll be a bonus Tuesday video with my random spoilery thoughts reacting to various parts of this book, etc., etc. Let me know down below, have you guys read The Martian or Project Hail Mary? Some of you are probably faster than I was. Admittedly, I had a bit of a busy week and otherwise might have binge read this on Tuesday evening, but oh well, it was fun to draw it out a bit. It was a very enjoyable read, so I'm not going to complain about that. So yes, if you've read this or any of Andy Weir's other books, let me know down below. Share your thoughts. I would love to hear them. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.